Okay, this is video part 2, talking about direct democracy versus representative democracy. And again, definitionally, direct democracy is the people vote directly on the laws and policies, and then it's enforced by a government. The representation democracy, the definition of that, is that people vote for other people who then collaborate together to make laws and policies that then a government will enforce ideally over everyone, over those in government and those not in government. Now, do the benefits and then the challenges, the negatives to these things. One benefit is that this process is deliberative. It's slower and it's purposeful. The process is slower by definition because it involves voting for others who are going to debate, argue, discuss with other people. It also allows for hiring out. It allows for the opportunity, theoretically, for expertise and for, I'm going to say, outsourcing. Rather than spending all your time studying on these things, the goal is that you would vote for and hire these people on your behalf to inform themselves and to craft policy in a deliberative, purposeful manner so that you not only get popular law, but that you get good law. In addition to that, the goal would be rule of law. So as John Adams said, that you are in a government of laws, not men, that you are not ruled over by the representatives, but that you are ruled over everyone by the law. And changes can take place, but they take place more slowly. There's also opportunity, again, for accountability. It's easier to blame 435 people than 315 million in the United States. So it is easier to assign blame and to hold your representatives accountable with vote or with the threat of the vote, and to call them and speak to them or email them or whatever the case may be. So those are some of the benefits. I'm trying to think. There could be other benefits. But again, just like with direct democracy, you can take all of these. And let me write another benefit. Compromise. People deliberate, they debate together, and they have to collaborate and work together in order to get things done. And so this necessitates compromise, working together. Now, again, all these words, all of these concepts can be stated positively, but they may also be stated negatively. Let me show you an example. The system is deliberative, therefore it's slower. This could also be termed irresponsive. It's very common to hear people, especially people over a certain age, say, Congress doesn't get anything done. Well, Congress is built on purpose to be like this so that it does not get things done quickly. That being said, it is meant to be responsive to popular will at some level. It's not supposed to be responsive to a mob, but it is supposed to be responsive to popular will. And when there's a lot of deliberation, infighting, deals going on, things like this, it can be hard to get those things done. expertise in outsourcing. It can also become an oligarchy, ruled by a few. And it can also have, I want to say, pride or hubris. The idea of that these politicians come to believe that they are the anointed experts in all matters, and that people need to follow their lead, and that whatever they say is for the good of the people goes, and that they get to decide what the public good and the good of the people is. They get to be the definers of that. Rule of law, ideally, yes, but again, with an oligarchy, it can be rule of a few, that a few people rule over 315 million, as is the case in the United States. And that they often will exempt themselves from laws. They will not have to participate under many of these laws that they write. So this is really just, in many cases, it could be termed just some people ruling over others. The vote, there's an opportunity for accountability, but there's also opportunity for corruption. It's easier to corrupt, bribe, influence a few politicians than it is to influence thousands of people. And so they can become unreachable by the people, but reachable by other interest groups that have more time, more money, more resources to hire lobbyists to go talk to them and craft policy on their behalf. Now, this is what interest groups, this is what businesses, this is what we would all do if we were in that position. But it's usually those with the money, the time, the power to hire out for this lobbying service to go talk to the government on your behalf that do this. So regular people who are unorganized, don't have money, don't have time, are at a disadvantage. However, some people look at this and say, well, we need to limit the participation of interest groups. That may be true. But at the deeper core of it, something to consider is when the politicians control less, it matters less who controls the politicians. If the politicians are able to dole out money and favors and things at taxpayer expense, and they are given the power to do that, of course interest groups are going to come calling. That's how things work. The government can provide to interest groups money plus power. And so they go to the government in order to get these things. And often the government, or different aspects of the government, acquiesces to this. And then the government doesn't always get blamed. Often it's the interest groups that get blamed. And there's plenty of blame to go around, but this is one of the issues of representative democracy. Another one is compromise. I'm going to leave that word there because it could be positive and it could be negative, depending on the connotation, depending on the context in which you use compromise. Sometimes we say compromise is working together, giving up some of what you want in order to be able to craft agreement. It is collaboration. It is creativity of thought. It is a refusal to be rigid and inflexible. Compromise. Work together to find compromise. Okay, we like to see that. But now the negative side of compromise. To be compromised or to compromise can be said that one knows what is morally right, knows what is ethical, and because of pressure, because of threat, because of external forces, that person capitulates. That person gives up. That person compromises. They fall. They know what is right, and yet they don't have the strength or the courage to carry it through. And so they compromise. Both sides of that word can apply in a representative democracy. Let me draw my favorite things to draw about political representatives. Another stick figure drawing. This is not my favorite thing to draw yet, but what is this representative to do? They have some different options. They can be a delegate. They can be a trustee. Or there's a third option now, but it's sort of chooses these different things. To whom should this representative be loyal? Now, a delegate is the idea that you do what your voters say, no matter what. You are there because of your voters, and you follow what your voters tell you to do, or else you will be voted out. On the other hand, the trustee is the voters have elected you. They have placed a trust in your authority. And although the voters may not always like what you say, what you do, what you think, you are the one they trusted, so you need to do what you decide is right in the situation, and you realize that you are not going to always make your voters happy. But you decide what to do, what you think is the right thing. To whom should a representative be loyal? The voters that elected them? All voters? The people in their district? The people in their state? The people in their political party? The people of the majority of the United States? If we're talking US representatives, it's not an easy thing, even in theory. And then again, here's my favorite drawing. Can political representation even be possible? Now here's the ultimate question. Let's say this person does not have to represent 700,000 people. This representative only has to represent 2. 1, 2. But the goal is both must be represented. Now, this person is pro-life and this person is pro-choice. And you could insert any disagreeing area in here, but both of them must be represented. Can the representative actually do it? Can they actually represent both of these people? Is there a compromised position? Now, these two people have totally different views. Can this person take into themselves all of what these people think? Now, take into account the fact that representatives don't just have to represent 2 people. They have to represent thousands who have not just 2 different points of view, but who have points of view that differ on all manner of political issues. So now we have to ask, is political representation, the way we think about it and euphemize it, and mythologize it. Is it truly possible for one person to represent the diverse views of multiple people in a political way? And that is something that we have to consider. Now, of these two options, if you had to choose one, which one of these is preferable? Because if we decide that a democracy is the way to go, which we won't take that for granted, but these are basically the forms of democracy. You could modify them, but with the positives and negatives, which one of these is the better system in theory and in practice?